Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934. It is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
Hey, don't forget my pimento cheese. Of course.
It's okay, I'll take it from here.
Hey, you forgot your receipt.
For the love of palmetto cheese.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. It's springtime. I love dressing up in spring in New Orleans. Hey, by the way, how about last week's show? Brian Kelly and Kim Mulkey. Man, that was so much fun. We're going to stay a little bit on the LSU theme today, but we're going to go to the women's side, the gymnastics. How about them? They went to the Final Four. They call it four on the floor, and they had some special things happen. So we're going to have one of their gymnasts right there in the middle. You see her, Sierra Ballard, and also the head coach, Jay Clark, who's been a part of 8 national titles when he was at Georgia, and he's doing great things here at LSU as well. So they're going to come on. And also Tulane. Their women's and men's track teams are doing great, particularly the women. So we're going to talk to their track coach, Adrian Myers. He's going to be here as well. It's about the women today. I cannot wait. Let's go to the Saints. We know rookie camp is happening right now, but big news, man. They had a little bit of a void at tight end. They have a couple guys there, but they didn't have a real strong blocking tight end that can also catch balls. Well, problem solved. Foster Moreau, we all know his story, went to Jesuit. State champion in 14, obviously went to LSU and played for the Tigers, and then he's been an Oakland Raider, a Las Vegas Raider for the last several years, and he is now coming to the New Orleans Saints. He has a bout with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he's supposedly going to be okay by the time everything gets going. So he's going to even be ready for minicamp, they say. So that is a great news for him. Also, how about what's happening? James Washington. He's got another target to throw to. That's big because this is something they need. He's been okay in the NFL. He's a phenomenal college player. He's going to be on the team. But how about rookie camp? Brian Brzee, the first-round pick, and Isaiah Foskey, the second-round pick, both defensive linemen. Well, they have that look. They look great as far as they're not that pads on yet or anything, but just the physical size of them and the in-shape aspect of it. They're looking very good for the Saints. Kendra Miller, obviously Jake Hayner and A.T. Perry, they've been ingratiating themselves in New Orleans as well. And speaking of Foster Moreau, how about his stepbrother, William Good? He pitched Jesuit to a 1-0 state title. They won their second title in 3 years, in 21 and 23. William Good right there is a Tulane recruit. He is a signed player going to play for Jay Ullman at Tulane next season. Congrats to them. Also, that is his stepbrother, so hopefully we might get him on as well. 2 other local teams won. St. Charles Catholic and E.D. White. Congrats to both of those programs for winning state baseball titles. LSU baseball, on the other hand, is not doing so great. Skeens struck out 13 in game 1. They won 12-1 in that one, but they lost on Saturday, and then they were up 13-4 on Sunday and ended up losing 14-13. In extra innings in their second straight series loss. They dropped to 5th in the country. J.P. France, a former Archbishop Shaw, Tulane, and Mississippi State pitcher, called up to the majors and got his first win for the Astros. Congratulations to him. 2 starts, 0.77 ERA. NBA playoffs, you know what's happening. Lakers, Nuggets tonight. Also, you got the Heat versus Celtics. You got an 8 seed going against a 1 and a 7 versus a 1. It's on. Primetime Sports coming up next, right here. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, you know, last week we had LSU football coach Brian Kelly, the women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey. Hey, we're going to stay with LSU for now. And boy, this team did as well as both of those almost, not the national champions, but certainly higher ranked than the LSU football team ended up, and they won the SEC West. Hey, it's the LSU gymnastics team, and they finished 4th in the country. What a great run despite a bunch of injuries. Well, we have the coach, Jay Clark, here right now. It's his first time on the show. We're going to get to know him. They did some wonderful things, and they've got everybody returning. That's going to be fun to watch next season. And I got to admit, I'm addicted now. I started watching them right before the SEC tournament, a couple meets before that, and I followed them the whole way through. And it got so much fun to watch, and hopefully next year you'll do the same. Jay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show for the first time,
Thank you,
man.
Appreciate it, Scott.
Good thing, man. Wait, I spent a lot of time in Georgia. I did a lot of games in Athens. You're originally a Dog, right?
Yeah, I'm a Georgia guy. I was 3rd generation Georgia grad from that area.
I'm listening.
Yeah, a lot of people say that still, even though I've been down here 11 years. But no, it's home. But I've certainly enjoyed being here over the last 11 years.
Yeah, you told me something last night when we chatted about. There's something different about LSU, you know, because I've been everywhere in the SEC. I've been everywhere in the country now, every Power 5 stadium. But there is something different about LSU, and I'd like for somebody that's a Georgia guy to explain what you mean.
Well, you don't really, all I knew about LSU when I got here was, as I told you last night, was the ride from the Embassy Suites to the PMAC. And so it took me a while to kind of get acclimated, but as I've gotten here and gotten entrenched in the culture, and then I travel all over the place and people find out that I work at LSU, there's a curiosity about South Louisiana and the culture, and those 3 letters just carry a tremendous amount of weight everywhere we go, and there is a mystique to it.
That's the word I was going to say. Is there a mystique to it when you talk about it? Because I was waiting for you to finish. I was going to use that word.
There's no doubt. There is a mystique to it. I think it helps us in recruiting. People are curious. They don't always know why there's a mystique, but they're very curious about what LSU is and what it's all about. Those 3 letters mean an awful lot. And if you think about it, there's only a few schools that you identify with those with 3 letters or something like that. And I don't know if it's tied to that somehow, but there's just an unusual level of curiosity about it everywhere we go.
Well, when I was a kid, I grew up a little bit of a Tulane fan, growing up right next to the old stadium, and so I thought LSU was one word, like shoe. LSU.
Yeah, LSU.
And I always, until I was like 12, I didn't understand. Oh, LSU. That's right. Yeah. Well, you coming from Georgia, a lot of mystique there. I was at the Herschel Walker Championship right in that building right behind you. But growing up, were you a football fan?
Oh, yeah. I grew up idolizing those guys. I wanted to be Buck Bellew, and I wore number 8 in high school because Buck Bellew wore number 8. I grew up idolizing all those guys. Got a chance to meet a few of them as I got a little older, and certainly enjoyed my time there, and it'll always be special to me. It's my alma mater, but at the same time, I'm glad to be here, and this is where I want to finish my career.
Yeah, Buck Bellew, Herschel, Lindsey Scott, those are some mystique names. I actually worked with Buck doing the the Georgia-Florida football all-star game. They still have that thing up there? That was a big deal for the high school players.
I don't know if that thing's still going on. It was a big deal back then.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if those are going on. I think those have been replaced by these Under Armour games and things that are that have kind of been sponsored by the big companies, Under Armour, Nike, all that kind of stuff. I was all part of
that when that started. I'm glad I'm out of that right now.
Yeah.
But moving forward, you were, tell us how you got into gymnastics, because that's a curiosity to me. Obviously, you were part of a big deal over at Georgia. They were legendary. I know I was there.
Yeah.
I know Suzanne Jocelyn was a big deal. So tell me how you got into it.
I was never a highly competitive gymnast. Took classes when I was little.
Did you?
Got to Georgia, kind of a frustrated high school athlete. Was good friends with a lot of the people on the team at the time, and fortunately or unfortunately at the time, Doug McGavin, who was the assistant coach, tore his bicep. And while he was spotting, and I had been in the gym, the kids knew me, and they needed somebody who had at least some basic working knowledge of what to do. And I started moving equipment and setting up things. They'd pay me $50 here and there, and learned to spot. Started working for them. They made me a student assistant coach. That went on for a couple of years, and then the next thing you know, I graduate and I'm offered a job while I was on a waiting list to go to physical therapy school. That was what I thought I wanted to do, and Suzanne Yocklin offered me a job, and at the time it was full-time, and it paid $5,000 a year.
That's it. I hear stories like this all the time.
And you made money. I worked at a bar at night. I worked at a TCBY in the mornings, and did whatever I could do to make it work. But really, initially, didn't intend on it becoming a career. And so, long story short, here I am 34 years later, still doing it.
I did the bar thing myself, and I think that's probably a little more fun than the TCBY. But at least I love yogurt, though, so you probably had some.
Oh yeah. I had a lot of people asking me to bring stuff home and try to get different stuff out of it.
In New Orleans, you could have brought the liquor home too.
You could ride around in a cup.
Not in Georgia. They are tough up there.
Yeah, they are.
Hey, spotting. You said that word. I mean, obviously, people that work out know spotting with weights. Spotting's a little different in gymnastics.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're 8 to 10 feet in the air, and they're flipping and twisting, and it's it can be challenging when they're learning a new skill, but just trying to maintain their safety. But you learn certain techniques on how to catch them and make sure that they don't land inappropriately, land on their head or something to that nature. But it's like catching anything else. If you can catch football, you can catch a gymnast.
So you
can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball, as they said in dodgeball. Yeah.
I mean, some are better than others.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking about your history. You had 22 years at Georgia, now 11. I mean, you're half there with there here in Baton Rouge at LSU. That's 33 years in 2 places. There's a lot of success at Georgia. I know you learned it early. I know you learned the system and you took it to another level when you got here. But talk about what you learned at under Yocklin over at Georgia, and then you became the head coach for 3 years. Yeah,
there were so many things I learned while we were at Georgia. Suzanne had a vision for what she believed it could be on any campus, not just at Georgia, and that sellout crowds were going to be part of that equation. I think the biggest thing I learned from her was the marketing piece of it, and how to put butts in the seats, and what it took to be able to do that. And I think that's probably the biggest piece. In many ways, we operate. Suzanne was really good at putting people around her that were good at what they did. And for me, my biggest contribution early on was recruiting. At that time, there weren't a lot of schools in our sport that were doing a lot of the gimmicks and the things that you could do. And I had friends that were heavily recruited in football, and I saw what football coaches were doing. And when she handed me recruiting, I was able to kind of apply some of those ideas to what was going on in our sport, and it was unique and different, and so my reputation grew as a recruiter. But there were so many things that we all did. Doug was the technician in the gym, I was the recruiter, and Suzanne was the promoter, and we all worked very well together and had a great run together.
She was good at promoting. I was with Fox Sports Net and Turner Sports at the time, so I saw it firsthand. But hey, y'all had a lot of success. I mean, do you remember how many titles you got? SEC, NCAA?
8 NCAA titles in my time there. 14 SEC titles at Georgia. We now have 3 of those here at LSU, so 17 total. And I've been extremely fortunate and blessed to be in 2 magnificently successful programs and to be surrounded by a lot of people that have done the work. They were pioneers in the sport and fought a lot of battles to get our programs where they are.
Yeah, one of them was Dee Bro, and I know, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't believe that there was an SEC title won here until you got with her. Is that correct? Or no?
She won the first one ever in 1981.
Oh, in 81?
Yeah.
Okay, good for her.
And then after that, it wasn't until 2016 when we won it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the
you were there?
One. Yes, of course.
Well, she was here a couple times, and I love Dee. She's fun. 43 years.
Yeah.
She was like the head of more tenure than any other coach at LSU. But what did you learn from her, and then you took it to the next level, and what you're doing now?
Well, the thing was about Dee, that was so great is that she allowed me to come in and sometimes somebody's been, at that time, she'd been doing it 35 years, right?
Yeah.
And had a lot of success in her own right.
Yeah.
But she was curious, and she wanted to, at that time, she wanted to change, and she wanted to see things be done differently, and was ready for her program to take it to a new level. And she embraced me as a partner, not just as an employee or a subordinate. She embraced me as a partner and asked me, I'll never forget it, when she goes, I've been doing things this way for 35 years. Talk to me about what we can do differently for how can we improve.
She was open to it. Okay,
very
that speaks
wide
volumes.
open, and that speaks volumes about somebody that's been doing it as long as she had at the level she had done it. And so together we put together some plans to grow our attendance, to enhance what we were doing from a marketing perspective. We also built a new facility together, and she let me be a big part of the design of that. And we put things in place to kind of change how we did things, right down to how we did our scheduling year over year, and so on and so forth. So I was just very fortunate. She brought me in and gave me an opportunity that at the time I needed, and in a time where I wasn't sure I was going to coach anymore, and she kind of gave me the keys to the kingdom a little bit and let me have a lot of influence along her side.
That speaks again volumes, because it's hard for me to sleep before a show because I'm always thinking about what I might be talking about, and it always comes up. So I was looking up her numbers again too. 800 wins, 400 losses. I mean, that's a lot of gymnastics in there involved.
A lot.
But what you did for this school, and I've looked at these numbers as well, is the attendance has gone off the charts. I mean, the second most in any sport, that includes basketball and baseball, everybody out there, of per game average attendance, other than football. And that's a big one they had there, 13,569. But you're averaging about 12,000 this year, and they only averaged about 2,000 to 3,000 before you got here. 800 season tickets before you got here, or something like that. Now you got several thousand.
Yeah. Well, we're at roughly 8,000 season ticket holders. 11 years ago, we were at a little over, maybe around 500 actually.
500.
And so,
oh my gosh.
And that was just really about let's get marketing in the room, let's get our creative team in the room, let's hold people's feet to the fire, let's create a vision for what can happen. And I really believe that in a city the size of Baton Rouge, if it could happen in Tuscaloosa and it could happen in Athens, it certainly could happen in a capital city like Baton Rouge where the population base was there. And the vision is, and we're still not there, the vision is that we're going to sell it out every single time we open the doors. And we've done it, but we haven't done it every time yet. And really it was just about systematically putting a calendar in place, making sure we gave the public a steady diet and awareness of what we were doing in our program, and just creating that sort of buzz that went with it. Certainly winning has a lot to do with that, but I don't think in our sport just winning does it. You got to understand your demographic in every sport. Ours is different than football and baseball and basketball. Ours is families with children under the age of 18 in the household. Most of them are young aspiring gymnasts, or they're doing something along those lines. And we learned early on how to cater to those people.
What's your take on NIL for your sport? Because obviously I've had some NIL folks on the show, Gordon McKernan being one of them. How can it benefit you?
I think it's tremendous. Our sport doesn't have an NBA or WNBA or an NFL. So this is the only opportunity that these young women are going to get to capitalize in any way on the time that they've spent in a sport that they've been doing since they were 4 or 5 years old.
You're right.
And they get an opportunity to get the exposure. This is their time to shine, and so I'm all for it. I know that sports purists don't like the idea, and I get that because there's a part of me that's that way. But the reality is, it's here to stay.
It's here to stay.
And we've got to embrace it, or we get left behind. If we're okay with getting beat, then everybody just give the Heisman to NIL. Otherwise, embrace it, get behind it. I think Gordon's done an amazing job getting involved with so many of the athletes so far. I'd love for him to find a way to get involved with some of ours. But hey, Gordon, get it done.
Gordon well,
get
man.
Gordon, get it done, baby.
Come on, let's get it done. Get it done, G. Get it done.
Yeah.
Gymnastics 4th in the country. Let's talk about that magical run, because it was magical. It really was, and I'm just a new fan, but the fact is you live it, and you saw what was happening despite a ton of injuries. I don't want to underestimate this. Injuries are part of every sport, but when you're talking about some of your top notch, and I want you to go over like the Kaya Johnsons and the people that were hurt this season, and then talk about, despite that, the people that stepped up, like my next guest, Sierra Ballard, and all these other great gymnasts you have.
Yeah, it was an unusual year, no doubt. I mean, the injury rate in our sport is high, probably second only to football, but it was an unusually high year for us. I pride myself, and our staff prides ourselves on managing their bodies really well, and this was the year where, we've had years where we've had no injuries, and then this was a year where every time we turned around, it seemed like something else was going on. We lost one of our freshmen incoming in August, Annie Beard, before we even got started. Cammie Hall, a transfer from Utah, who came in, and we anticipated her helping us on vault in particular, but also on floor. Got hurt around Thanksgiving. It was Kaya Johnson. It was KJ Johnson. We had concussions for Bryce Wilson.
Talk about how big those people are, because Kaya's top 5 in the country.
Yeah, Kaya's everybody, this year Haley was our was our big all-around scorer
Haley
and everything.
Bryant.
Haley Bryant.
Yes.
But she and Kaya had sort of been 1 and 1A in terms of all-around scores in the past, and so losing Kaya as not only as her production, but her, we were fearful. Sometimes a kid gets hurt and they kind of abdicate leadership, but Kaya did a great job of staying engaged and helping lead our team.
Nice.
We lost KJ Johnson to a freak thing, broke her foot in celebration after we beat Florida. Go over to sing the alma mater with the student section, gets nudged, rolls her ankle, and breaks her foot.
Happens, man. That's so
These
crazy.
kinds of things were just, it was like one thing after another that just kind of went on and on and on, and the list goes on. But the beauty of it all is that we saw so many people step up. You mentioned Sierra, who you'll talk to later, just did an amazing job. We knew she was going to be in our floor lineup, but she really became a stalwart in our beam lineup as well. I think Lexi Jeffrey is another one that stepped up big time for us in some spots, and the list goes on. Every time we put somebody new in, they rose to the occasion, and that sort of made the year very rewarding. It was probably one of the toughest years I've ever been in, but it was also one of the most rewarding years I've ever. I told them when we got to the postseason, look, guys, you're playing with house money. You're Cinderella in a wheelchair, but you're still,
Right, Cinderella in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
Listen, Kim Mulkey had the same thing. She's like, not injury-wise because she was healthy, but she's like, hey, don't expect us to go all the way. I mean, I remember pulling a bracket out. I said, LSU's winning this thing. I just had a good feeling about it. Now, they had to get by Utah. Speaking of Utah, they had to get by them in the Sweet 16, and that was a close game. But you need that kind of luck. You guys had a similar thing where y'all were tied. I remember Sierra was on SportsCenter with the other girls, and they talked about it for a few minutes. I was like, this is awesome. But Michigan and all these other teams y'all had been tied with, you tell the story better than me, because it was a really cool moment.
Well, Michigan 2 years ago was the national champion, and they virtually have the same team, and so they were favored to win that regional. And for us to tie them at the end and then to go to the tiebreaker, which means we count all 6 scores on every event versus 5 of the 6. And I knew that if the score was correct and we had indeed tied them, that we would get in, but I was waiting to make sure that they verified everything before I gave the signal to the team. So it was a lot of suspense, and I've been on the wrong side of one of those before. And it's heartbreaking, and I felt for Michigan, but at the same time, with everything these kids had been through, I told them it was one of the most memorable moments of my career, was to be able to turn around and to give them the signal that we had advanced and to watch them celebrate.
What's the signal? What is it?
I just threw my hands up, man. I
Just
threw my hands up and let them know we were going, and the tears that flowed, and it was just like somebody let the air out of the balloon, and we were celebrating pretty hard.
So, Coach, you're saying it's better to be on the good side of that tiebreaker thing than the other side?
No doubt.
There's nothing worse than being exactly tied, knowing that, oh my God, one little percentage point.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I mean, it can be heartbreaking.
I got to bring out Livy Dunn because she's Sports Illustrated. I think when people around the country hear of LSU gymnastics, that's the first thing they think of. She's become the highest paid woman and the second highest paid athlete in NIL through her stuff on social media. I think this Sports Illustrated thing might put her over the top, back at #1 with all athletes, not just women. This is kind of crazy, this phenomenon. And until I saw pictures of her the other day, I wouldn't have not known who she even looked like. But tell us about that and how's that, the effect of the team, and what is it about?
Yeah, I think when NIL started, all of us coaches were worried. Well, how's this going to affect the internal workings of a team? Is there going to be internal strife? What's the locker room going to feel like and everything? For the most part, Liv's done a really good job of trying to manage that herself. I mean, when she gets a big deal with a company, she tries to make sure her team gets a care package from that company and tries to include them at some level in benefiting from the deals that she's gotten. Liv's situation is unusual in that when she came to college, she had about 2 million followers, which was a lot at that time.
She's got 4 billion on Instagram right now.
Now we're approaching 10 or 12 million overall
counting
with
Twitter.
TikTok and the things
TikTok.
that she's.
I forgot about that
TikTok is where a lot of her exposure comes from, and so it's a little different, in that it doesn't necessarily all center around her athletic prowess. It's a different phenomenon that she's been working on since she was in her teens, and social media has exploded that. I was worried about that. What's really turned out to be is trying to get these kids to understand that when they do NIL and they're student athletes, they've got several full-time jobs they're trying to deal with. And so the time constraints that they have in their lives has been the biggest thing that I've seen. They stay a little more stressed out than they used to. But as far as internal of the team, it's been phenomenal and really, great for Liv, great for everybody, great for our sport, because it brings more attention to our sport. They might not think they're looking for our sport, but that's what they end up getting exposed to when they are interested in what Liv's got going on.
There's some legends on this ball, and as you sign it, I want to talk a little bit about Haley Bryant, because she had such a magical run herself. Yeah. I remember watching when she got the 310s that afternoon, and maybe it was the tournament, or was it that same?
No, it was a regular season meet.
Yeah. So, but that's just remarkable. I mean, you had all-time leader in perfect 10s at LSU. Yeah. Tremendous. But what does she mean to this team?
Well, she's tremendous. I mean,
we signed the ball, by the way.
Yeah,
that's how we do it here.
I see that. Haley is, Haley is. I tell everybody all the time, you're witnessing greatness, and she's been a tremendous asset, not just from an athletic standpoint, but the human being that she is. She's humble. She's giving. She's a gracious person, but she's also coming into her own in terms of leadership. She was a top recruit, but she wasn't, the biggest name in the fishbowl, so to speak, when we got her.
Right.
And now she's
turned it into blossom and progress, right?
She's turned it into magic, man. And so glad I tell her all the time, I'm glad you're on our team. And I think in many ways she was responsible she had a calming effect. Everybody knew Haley was at the back end of those lineups. And it kind of allowed them to be themselves and stay aggressive, because they knew that Haley was going to be there. And when you have that reassurance at the tail end of your lineup, it's easy to swing for the fence and not be timid. So
right. Yeah. We also give gifts, and I have the same pain here. They're going to see my fancy system here with the old, what do you call those things? The laundry clip?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice, huh? Yeah. So I know what it is like to go from winter to spring and vice versa, more importantly. Sure. Sometimes you're an XL, sometimes you might be a little bigger.
Well, you nailed it.
I got the same thing, man. Hey, my closet's got both, so I figured, it's your first time, you made the effort. I'm going to give you both, because you never know what time of year it's going to be.
Hey, I'm a tweener, man. It depends on the day. I can go up one day and down the next.
It doesn't help being in Louisiana, I'm going to tell you that right now, because I gained 40 right back off when I moved back down. I've only lost about 10 of it. But
I moved here and gained 35, and I'm still holding.
Quickly, right? I know, and I came from Atlanta. Good food, but not this food. And just speaking of food, Shays Delachase and Delachase, you can go to either one of those. Check it out. One's on St. Charles Avenue, Jay. The other one's uptown on Maple between Carrollton and Broadway. So
awesome.
Yeah, call me when you do. I'll come hang out with you.
Absolutely.
Bring your wife or whatever. So anyway, congrats.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And hope we'll have you back sometime, maybe next season.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. Go
That
Tigers.
is Jay Clark, man. Hey, they're doing great things. And I want to highlight women's sports. I really do, and we're going to continue to do that throughout the summer. We're going to keep doing it. In fact, this show alone, I've got one of his gymnasts coming up next. That's Sierra Ballard, and I can't wait to have her on just to get the athlete's perspective of it. And then, how about this one? I went different this time. I was going to do the women's basketball coach at Tulane. She couldn't come. She was supposed to come, and her flight got delayed, so she's going to. But I'm going to do the women's track coach, and he also coaches the men's. He came from Northern Illinois. He's coming up later on the show, and they're doing crazy things. I mean, they've got all kind of guys in their American Athletic Conference tournament, and they've won a bunch of stuff, so they're going to proceed into the NCAAs. But all that's coming up next right here on Primetime Sports.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At the Mid-City Lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Max Durbus Realtors has been providing commercial and industrial real estate services to its clients for nearly 100 years. Since 1934, Max Durbus has been locally owned and operated throughout the greater New Orleans area, including the North Shore, Hammond, and even the Mississippi Gulf Coast and beyond. We focus on your commercial real estate needs so you don't have to. More information is available at 504-733-4555. The recent devastation from hurricanes have caused insurance companies to significantly raise their rates. However, most of them are offering large discounts if you install a fortified roof system, which uses larger nails and has a much stronger, resilient base underneath the shingles. The fortified roof professionals at Skyline Contractors can install these new roofing systems for you. More information is available at 504-355-6845 or at skylinecontractors.us.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, we had the coach, and now we're going to have one of his athletes, the gymnast team. They did so well this year, the gymnastics team, and I loved watching them go through the SEC tournament on into the NCAAs. The regionals were in Denver, and then they went to Fort Worth. They got all the way, they call it 4 on the floor, because they can't say Final Four. That is copyrighted by the basketball, but it's basically the same thing. They got to the Final Four, and that is an LSU team that wasn't expected to go that far, and they did it despite a ton of injuries. We talked about a little bit of that with Coach Clark. I'm not going to get into that now, but we have one of his gymnasts that stepped up immensely, and she's from New Orleans, and that's a beautiful thing too. She went to school across the lake at Mandeville. She was a skipper there, but she stepped up and she did some great things. She did the third highest average on the team going through the rest of the way at 9.85. Trust me, that's very good. Haley was number 1 there, but Sierra Ballard did the floor and did some of the beams, and trust me, you don't want to get on those beams. And she only fell, I think, twice in her entire career. I'm trying to get all the facts, but let me tell you this. When she went to Denver, the police chief of Denver gave her a medal and said, hey, you're a leader. You epitomize leadership. He was walking around because they have live done. She had all the people that were trying to get access to her, so they had to have some police around, and that's what kind of leader she is. She's the one that throws the kids' birthday parties on the team. I mean, the ones that looks out for everybody else, and here she is with us, and I couldn't be happier to have her. Sierra Ballard, how are you?
Great, how are you?
So good to see you.
Great to see you.
What a run.
Yeah.
I mean, what a run this was. I mean, off the top of your head, when I say that, what comes to mind?
It was a climb, that's all I got to say. I mean, it says right here on my shirt, that was our theme for the year. It really was a climb.
I mean, and you played hurt. That's the other thing people don't realize. There's a lot of people that on your squad, the Kaya, and obviously we know the Kai and all the other people that could not dress out, but you had ankle issues the whole time. I remember I was trying to get you in between the SEC tournament and the tournament, and they're like, man, her ankles are shot. She's going to get them worked on. I'm like, and she's still going to compete. That's the kind of warrior you are.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that go for you though?
It was a little rough, but I mean, I knew that I was going to do anything that I had to do to get our team where we needed to be. It was just something that I just started dealing with in the beginning of season. I was like, my ankles are hurting, but as a gymnast, that happens all the time. Like your ankles are going to hurt because you're pounding so much.
Yeah.
But then I didn't realize how bad it was until we got to the Purple and Gold Podium Challenge, which was 2 weeks before SECs. And I literally could barely walk out of that meet. I was telling my trainer, I was like, they are so bad right now. I was competing with lidocaine patches every single meet. I started taping my ankles, and I hate taping my ankles. So whenever I put tape on, that they're bad.
There's some shots of you sitting out. I mean, you had tape all over them, just waiting for your time to go, or maybe you had just gone right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. But you're unique because both of your parents, college athletes. I know your dad played football at Tulane. Your mother, a great gymnast, correct, in Georgia?
Amazing.
I mean, she's from Canada?
Yes, she grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
She represented them at the Olympics twice, 88 and 92.
Wow.
Then she got recruited by Jay, who is my coach now, and went to Georgia, competed there, SEC champion, All-American, all the things. And
all the things.
All the things.
88 and 92 Olympics. I mean, I was at the 92 Olympics in Barcelona. I was living over there at the time, so I went and I did 2 weeks of the Olympics there. Phenomenal time. Obviously, that's when the Dream Team, the original one, started. And there they are right there. What's it mean to you to have parents that support you so much? Because I know gymnastics is a sport that I mean, listen, there's some early mornings. All sports, all parents have this, but gymnastics is a special breed of parent.
Yeah. It is really a special breed of parent, especially when both of your parents are involved with the sport. My dad coached at Georgia, was assistant coach of the year.
He said he lived with Jay for a couple of years.
Yes, I know, and nobody knows that. Actually, a lot of my teammates are like, I forget that your dad was a coach.
Right.
I was like, yeah, he used to come in too. During my private sessions with my mom, it would try and coach me and spot me.
I didn't
yeah.
even know that till the Zurich Classic this year, because I knew he played football, and I've been a friend of his for several years now, but I did not even know. And I was in Georgia. I wasn't covering gymnastics as much like your mom was actually covering for us at Fox Sports, but I didn't even really know her because she wasn't in the office. But fact is he's been all about gymnastics.
Yeah, he had the #1 recruiting class. I mean, what better way to get some business experience than recruiting in gymnastics, you know?
No
It's the best way of networking.
What's your favorite part about being a part of this LSU team?
The girls, the family. I mean, there's 19 of us, and there was like 18 more sisters. Like, the bond that we have is just so unremarkable, and it's like there's nothing that compares to it.
Something similar we have is that we both grew up Tulane fans that went to LSU.
Yeah.
And my brother ended up doing some baseball at LSU, became the manager of the team. So I kind of fell in love with them right before when I was deciding to go to colleges. And at the last second, I chose LSU, and I had a blast. And I know it's still fun to be a student there, correct?
Yeah, it is. It's great.
What's it like being a Tulane fan, then becoming both? Because you're both now, right? Back in my day, you had to be one or the other, which I never appreciated.
I think I'm going to root for Tulane all the way.
Yeah.
Unless they're going against LSU, I guess.
What a great year they had, though, football-wise, huh?
Yeah, they really did. I was rooting for them. I love going to the Tulane games. I always make it a mission to make it to one, at least every year. Because, I mean, growing up with your dad and your uncles all going to Tulane, like, I was a Tulane fan, like, my whole life. Like, I think it's so funny because people always ask me, like, you grew up wanting to go to LSU, right?
Right. No.
You're a hometown girl, like, dreams coming true. I was like, actually, no.
No, not
I did
at
not
all.
want to go to LSU at all. Like, people grow up going to LSU baseball. I went to Tulane baseball.
Right.
I went to Tulane football. I went to everything Tulane.
love it.
It was great.
And ironically, your Uncle Scott, who's like big Tulane guy his whole life, I've known, he becomes the LSU Board of Supervisors chairman. I mean, like, there's a lot of mixed blood up in here now.
Yeah, we've been converted. I think every single one of my cousins have been to LSU for college. Like, we've all graduated from LSU.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But going forward with this squad, when did you realize that y'all had something special cooking despite the injuries?
I knew we had something cooking from August.
Wow.
From that the retreat, the advance that we went on in
Like Kai
Orange
Johnson
Beach.
was still healthy in August, though, right?
Yes.
I mean, she got hurt in the second meet of the season, maybe against Kentucky. Yeah.
No, everybody was still decently healthy, and we went to this retreat and spent a weekend in Orange Beach, just getting to know each other and really building a foundation for this year. And that moment when we came up with our theme for the year, the climb, it was just. There's no feeling like that. It was just like it all was coming together, and it was like a weight was lifted off my chest, and I had a feeling that this is going to be a good year.
You didn't even know this, but I told you last night, but Sports Center, the day y'all won, you had the tiebreaker, right?
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. There's a lot of emotion in that thing. And Coach said he knew because the tiebreaker was the one that I guess they take out the lowest score, correct? And they brought it back, and whoever had the lowest score, the best of the lowest scores, when they brought the score back in an event of a tie, was the winner. And he knew that y'all had the best. But when the emotion on TV, when they were doing it all and everybody was looking around to see, and Michigan had their thing, I think there was another team involved.
Yeah.
Do you remember who that might have been?
So it was Oregon State was last, and then Denver had already qualified because they got first, and then us and Michigan were tied.
Right.
I mean, I knew it too. I was sitting there and I was like, they count the sixth score, and they had 2 falls, so that would put us. But I mean, in those moments, you still don't know. You're like, I want to be 1,000% sure that I am making it, or else, like, I'm not going to sit here and get my hopes up. You know?
I had watched it, then I talked to your dad, but then on SportsCenter later that night, I'm like, they said, hey, and how about this LSU? Things are going well at LSU because they, obviously the basketball team was rolling.
We won that the day before, 2 days before.
Won the championship the day before, exactly. And then, then they were talking about this, and I'm like, oh, and then they showed a picture of you. You were the first one. And it was like the over-the-shoulder thing. That's in our business. When, the guy on the set has it, and they have the picture over his shoulder. That's called OTS. And it was you, and I'm going to find this, but you didn't even know about it when I told you last night.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
Am I the only one
crazy.
that watched the Sports Center still around here? Because I figured that somebody would have told you.
No, I think I was just so caught up in like the emotion from that weekend and just the thrill of finally going back to Fort Worth that I just didn't even notice.
Fort Worth, now that is where the obviously the is it when they did the final 16 there or just the final 4?
It's 8.
8. Okay. What do they call
and
that?
then they cut it up for 4. Well, I mean, we refer to it as the Elite 8. They don't really have a name for it.
Right.
We just,
but it's Elite 8 like
yeah,
basketball. That's
exactly.
what you call it. I didn't know if there was 4 on the floor is what they call it for the final 4, and that's obviously just a copyright
it's just
issue.
the semifinals, you know.
Semifinals,
Yeah.
okay. But when you get to that level and you are competing there, because I mean, was it a surprise to others that maybe y'all got past the 8 to get to the 4?
I think so. I mean, not to us.
Not to y'all.
I knew that we were capable of doing it, no
Right.
matter who we had competing out there. Everybody on the team is there for a reason, and we're all capable to compete. That's why we're recruited.
Right.
But I think there was a bunch of people that were kind of like surprised, especially with all the injuries that we had. Everybody was counting us out, and that's all the more reason to go out there and prove them wrong.
Well, you were a walk-on, okay, and so you had all these injuries, and people get their chance to shine. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it didn't. They had you leading off on the floor, and there's something about that, because I've learned a lot about the sport just in the last 2 months. The energy you brought to the room, and I'm telling you, you could feel it. It was palpable. Do you take pride in this and explain how you do it and tell people that have no idea what I'm talking about what that means when you lead off the event?
Okay, yeah, so a lead-off position is basically the first person up, and they're there to set the tone for the entire rest of the lineup. I mean, you want your lead-off to be the most consistent person. You need to know that they're going to go up and they're going to hit, and that they're going to set up the next person to eventually build scores. Because the way that gymnastics works is you have 6 up, 5 count, and you want scores to build so that eventually like the 5th and the 6th person can get the highest and have potential of getting a 10, right?
Right.
And so I think that was just something that was really important for me to, one, just make a statement this year, especially with the way that last year went.
Yeah.
I was really upset with the way that my year ended and started in general. Like, I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do and contribute to the team in the ways that I wanted to contribute.
Yeah.
And so I really took the time in the summer and in the preseason to work and to get into a spot where I wouldn't be denied a spot in the lineup.
Nice.
But to be given that #1 spot was just really unmatched of a feeling. Like, it was really
It's gotta be the
exciting. And
greatest.
it's just great to know that the people around you trust you so much to put you in that spot.
I mean, you have everybody coming back, which is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
Liv didn't even compete much this year. I know she's more of a specialist, but you have these all-arounders, which means you're in all 4 events, the bars, beams, vault, and floor. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
I can't even
That was
believe
great.
it. But those are the 4, and everybody watches the Olympics. We all kind of know a little bit, and I'm one of in that category. But now I'm kind of understanding the differences, and the people that do all 4, that's grueling. And then you got to do it, and then Haley, I got to give her some props because
I know she did.
Kaya was supposed to be top 5 in the country. She got hurt in the second meet. You had Kai Rivers hurt. You had the freshman
Annie Beard.
Annie Beard. I mean, I could go on. There's several of them, but Haley just stepped up. We all knew how great she was, but we didn't know this great.
Yeah.
In fact, so great that coach last night told me she should have won the Honda Award, which is
She definitely should
which is the best in the
But I
country.
mean-
But explain, that's your roommate and one of your best friends. So explain what she did to everybody that has no idea what I'm talking about.
So Haley competed all around. Obviously, all around is very grueling on your body. It's awful. I mean, you have 4.
I love that of you two right
yeah,
there.
I know.
Isn't that
It's
great?
so cute.
Yeah.
I really love her. But 4 events. She went up, competed all 4 events every single week, 64 routines, and hit 64.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
I mean, she's got to
The
be
most top level of consistency. She also had a 9.9 in QS, I think, on every single event. Like, one of the first people to do that at LSU, I think.
What do you think that the expectation is next season? We know Florida is a perennial power. Obviously, Oklahoma is there. Michigan's usually good. What is the expectation for A, outside of your locker room, and then B, in your locker room for next season?
I think, next season, everybody's kind of expecting us to do great things with everybody coming back. We're not losing a single routine, and we're gaining 6 more girls, so that's insane. Yeah,
I mean,
we're going to have a large
not just
crew.
girls, top-notch girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, y'all are killing it right now, so
Yeah.
you're expected to be maybe, national champion possibly.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we can't let the expectations get to us. We have to get into the gym this summer, really lock in, come back stronger than ever, and we have to create a community and a bond that was just like it was last year. I mean, it's a whole group of people, so it's going to be different. Every year the team is going to be different and the bond is going to be different. But as long as we're all 1,000% locked in and committed to the idea. And
look at this. I love it. You're going to be a coach one day.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean, I
we'll
can tell already just from the speech.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get back to Orange Beach because that's where it all begins, apparently.
No, it is. I mean, we'll be back there for our advance this year, but it's going to be different, and it's going to be we're not going to be able to recreate what we did last year, but that's not the goal. The goal is to take what we did last year and build on it and keep going forward and see what we can do with this new group.
I can't wait to get you on a ball. I know they're a little crowded, but please find a space.
I'm so excited.
In the coveted gold pen, the black ink is some pre-COVID stuff, and the gold one's here. We got. Hey, get you, Miles Brennan. Although you're going to see all the stuff behind me if I do that one. I got my phone and everything else back there. We'll find something there. By the way, honor roll. Graduated in 3 years, everybody. 3 years, and she's getting her master's now. I mean, got to throw that out there. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I got accepted today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll give you a handshake on that. Here's a gold pen. But we also give gifts. And since you're originally a Tulane person, you know Task Performance, I'd imagine you do. It's the New Orleans-based company that Al Andrews started years ago, and this is the softest shirts of all time. I'm telling you.
I love Task.
And you got another one coming your way too. And also, speaking of Tulane, you probably know that Shays de la Shays is right on Maple Street, right by Tulane's campus, by the Starbucks, between Carrollton and Broadway, he likes to say. And also, de la Shays is also on St. Charles Avenue. You can go there as well. So
thank you so much.
And I got to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down from Baton Rouge. I appreciate you. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers, baby.
And we're going to go Tigers now. We're going to roll wave next because the Tulane Green Wave, speaking of them, we have their track coach, their cross country and track coach for both men and women. I can't wait. He came from Northern Illinois, and we're going to have him next right here on Primetime Sports.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. It's been LSU a little bit lately, hadn't it? But I've had Tulane. You know I've had Tulane through and through all year. That great magical 12-2 season. A lot of football players had Ron Hunter and his guys. A lot of basketball, of course, Jay Ullman. But we're going to a different sport, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Because like I said earlier, we're going to have Lisa Stockton, the women's basketball coach. She's had such a great career there. Her flight was a little later. So I said, you know what? I want to stick with the women's theme. Please give me some people at Tulane that have been doing some stuff in the women's program. But he's also doing it in the men's. And his name is Adrian Myers. They gave me the track and cross country coach, track and field, and cross country. And get this, he coaches the men cross country, the women cross country, the men in track indoor, the women in track indoor, and the men and women outdoor as well. That's a lot of people to be in control of and a lot of events to go to. But here he is, big personality, a great coach in his time over at Northern Illinois, which is where they got him from. He's a 3-time All-American himself in the 800 meters. And here he is for the first time on Primetime Sports. Welcome, Adrian.
Appreciate you.
Adrian Myers.
Thank you for having me.
First time I heard your name, honestly, was yesterday. But the fact is I've been hearing about the track team and what they've been doing because I follow Jason, you know his stuff, the guy, the SID, and he's putting stuff out. And I guess y'all might have another person putting stuff out, but I see it, and I always think, man, this team is rolling. So tell me, A, how you got the job, B, why you chose New Orleans, and C, what do you think of it?
Yeah, for me, I was looking for an opportunity to oversee a program. You know, I've been an assistant prior to here for about 14 years, and it was my time. You know, it was my time to kind of leave and put my own vision together and what I believed could be a championship design for a program. And Tulane was the perfect platform. You know, they'd been struggling a little bit competitively for a while now.
That'd be putting it mildly, right?
Yes. And, you know, some things that just weren't being done, you know, and I wanted the challenge. I've been a part of 2 program rebuilds at Purdue, Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
And the resources, the university, the city, everything made sense to be able to recruit and retain and build a national class program. And something in my heart spoke to me. I had a lot of opportunities come my way with our success at Northern Illinois, but something at Tulane University in New Orleans really spoke to me.
That's interesting. That's where I want to go with this, because you have a family, you have young children, right? And the oldest is 13. That's a pivotal age. When you're in junior high, you're going to high school, and you have this whole set of friends you've had. You're an Illinois native yourself. Something must have spoken to you, because I'm from here and I left for 30 years knowing New Orleans and been around the world. Know New Orleans is the greatest city in the world, but I can't imagine people in Illinois knowing it. Fact is what do you think led you to come with the 3 children and your wife to a team that has been moribund, to put it frankly?
Well, our first year here, we questioned that as well. We walked in, we had Ida, we had,
oh my gosh, you started with Ida.
Right away, so I earned, hopefully, my first year membership of New Orleans residency the hard way there. But for us, again, it was an opportunity and belief in what I was doing, and Troy Dannon and the staff really believed in what we could do, and that we could be a national class program. That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to go somewhere that they were willing to support financially and otherwise a championship level program. I didn't want to come here and just participate. We want to win trophies, you know, and that's what they want to do here, and they were willing to support it. They were willing to commit to me in doing so, but my wife believed in it, and that's sometimes part of being coach's kids is, we'll make a little move. But for us, our kids are into the arts. They're into music. My oldest daughter, violin, piano, guitar, painting, does all those things. So no better city, like you said, in the United States, maybe even the world, to learn those things. So
it's phenomenal. It really is. And I've lived all over the country and been around the world, and I just love the city. It's got its warts, we know that. But you stepped into Ida. That had to be an eye-opener, because you're like, hey, these hurricanes are real. I see them on TV, but you stepped into a pretty major one. And that was your first time here, like that month? I mean,
so my neighbors, they've been here forever at the time, and right here in Uptown, and I asked my neighbor, hey, should I be worried about this? Is this something that's serious? And he goes, hey, what's the worst you've been through? I was like, well, I've been in a tornado, and that was pretty scary. He's like, you'll be all right. Just make sure you kind of bunker down and all this sort of thing. So we stuck it out. We stayed in there, and in true Midwestern form, I'm out in the yard taking videos and pictures like I'm a storm chaser or something.
Oh, I was out there too. I got some video. I mean, I was with WWL,
and then once the power goes out and you're late August, early September, whenever it was there, the heat started to get to me, and there was it was about to become The Shining in our household if we didn't get out of there real quick. So they got us out to Birmingham, took great care of us, and it was fantastic. So we were able to take care of the situation and keep our team rolling.
Did you see the football team in Birmingham? Because I know
we were all in the Sheraton.
Yeah, they were displaced up there for a month.
Yep.
That's interesting. So you came to a program that admittedly didn't have much going on, but you knew that they had things happening. I mean, you might not have seen it yet, but the football team, they were primed to do some great things. And I'm not going to use Ida as a complete excuse, but they almost beat Oklahoma in the first game.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat, and that was the second-ranked team in the country. They had them on the ropes. But then, they snowballed. They even had the team that was in the Final Four on the ropes, Cincinnati, literally leading that game late. But each sport seems to be moving up, and you're right there with the others. Basketball, we saw what Ron Hunter did. You see what happened with Willie Fritz's team. Obviously, there's other sports. Tennis is doing well at times. So you guys are right in the pattern.
Yeah. No, again, there's a willingness to push the envelope a little right now and raise what I keep saying, the Tulane standard. We're a world-class institution.
It's not a 4-year degree, right? It's a 40-year degree, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I always hear.
No, and I mean, it's a world-class institution. The Ivy Leagues are very competitive in our sport. The difference is we have, that group of 5, Power 6, Power 5 type resources that they don't have. So we can attract the high-end academic kid that's a high achiever that also is very successful in our sport. And that's what I could see happening, and we're getting there. We're recruiting some of the top kids in the country, some of the top kids internationally, and to the parabolic, spike that we've had as a program upward, you just don't see. There's not another program in the country that's risen as fast as we have in less than 2 years. And I think that's just a body of my staff's work, the belief in our program, and again, the institution is the foundation of everything.
And you have a system in place. I mean, you do. It's obvious, and I want to give some kudos to some of the athletes you have, because because you're in the middle of it right now. You're going to the NCAAs, I imagine, and some stuff. I'm not sure exactly how it works in track and field, but the fact is you just finished the American Athletic Conference. Was it
Outdoor championships.
Outdoor championships.
Yep.
So explain what's going on and throw some bouquets out to some of these athletes that are doing great things, because we have some pictures of some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we just finished our championship season, so now we have the postseason. How you advance to that in the NCAA outdoor season is you top 48 in the East, top 48 in the West in every individual event, advance to the first round of the national championships. From there, the top 12 advance to the NCAA finals, which is 2 weeks later.
Wow.
So that's kind of the meat grinder to get to the national championship finals. And our sport's evolving before our eyes. I mean, to be an NCAA finalist right now, you have to be world class, and speaking of world class, Kristen O'Hanley in our program right now is one of the top 40 multi-athletes in the world.
Wow.
And she never won a conference championship or anything like that until this year, and she actually broke the conference record indoors and was an NCAA All-American.
Pentathlon?
Pentathlon indoors, and then the heptathlon outdoors.
Heptathlon outdoors.
Yep. So having her, Janae Dean won a conference title this weekend.
Janae Dean, 800 meters?
Yep.
That's your old event.
It is, wire to wire. And then a young lady, Victoria Robinson, was third, both Northern Illinois transfers.
There's Janae right there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, they came with you.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes.
Bless their hearts for that, but fantastic.
How'd that go over up there at Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of sports now, I guess, and they have an avenue just like coaches do to,
Let's be honest, the institution is very important, but they go for the coach. I mean, you're getting recruited by the coach a lot of times. I mean, maybe an assistant at times, but the fact is this is nothing new. You're not the first coach that somebody in another sport has not left for, right?
Right. It's all about relationships.
Yeah.
I like to think, that I've built good rapport with them. They trust me. I trust them, and they know what my expectations are of them. There's no ambiguity there. So we want the same things, and we want to have success as a program, and having success as a program is contingent on individual successes. So we're doing some good things here right now, and the future is bright for Tulane track and field and cross country.
Give your plug to an athlete that may be considering Tulane and maybe some other schools in the region or maybe nationally, and why they should come be with you.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is we have everything you need. Everything you need to be successful, and you'll have one of the best academic degrees in the country. You'll leave here a champion of character, hopefully a champion on the track, and the ability to change a generational cycle potentially through sport. For me, I was a first generation college student. My family, the sport of track and field gave me an opportunity to get an education and to change my cycle. So we can do that through our sport at one of the best institutions in the United States. So when looking at other lesser institutions, you might want to take a look at Tulane.
Well, Tulane is a proud place. I'm going to say that the facilities have gotten better and better and better. It's really nice over there, man. They're putting a lot of money into it. Troy Dannon's doing great things with all of his programs, and I'm seeing the track is right there with it. Good luck as you go forward in the NCAAs, and I can't wait to hear all about it, because I will be talking about it in my open when it's all said and done, and I'm going to bring up what y'all have done so far in this one as well. Hey, you're going to love this. This is a Tulane man right here. Task Performance. Do you have Task yet?
I don't.
Oh my God!
I need to.
Tulane guy. Feel how soft that is.
Oh man,
that's crazy. I mean, you will not put Under Armour on again. That's all bamboo cotton material. It's phenomenal, and that is a Tulane guy that started that. By the way, the last all SEC athlete. But Tulane was in the SEC before 1965 or so, 66, whatever. But that's the last one. He started. He played basketball, 19 points a game, 4 years. And this is a restaurant right on campus. There's two of them. One on St. Charles. That's called Delachey's. This is the one that's more of a sit-down restaurant. It's called Chez Delachey's, right by the Starbucks on Maple. You know where that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to sign the ball.
Yeah,
I mean, not the ball. The Tulane, we're going to sign the helmet. And we got a green pen for you. That's post-COVID. We put them in green. And we're going to go, hey, I got you a nice little slot right in there. Slide in there between Nelson Stewart, who is on the 98 undefeated team. A lot of guys there. By the way, this is Adrian Myers. I can see your vibe. It's very strong and positive, and you got good energy. And there you are. Now I'll be able to read that. Okay. Oh, yeah, you got the cross country and the track and field. That's yours. Just saying XC.
Yeah.
Because I realized that on your Twitter page. I was trying to figure out what all that meant.
So many characters. You can only put so many characters.
You can only put so many characters. There he is, Adrian Myers, man. This ain't your last time here.
Appreciate it.
All right, and take your wife. That's some great wine over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you full meal, that'll at least get you started for sure.
Yeah.
There he is right now. Support all your sports, man. Support the women and the men. He coaches both. How great is that? He gets the best of both worlds, and he gets to do cross country and track, indoor, outdoor, and give them some love as they move forward in the NCAAs. Hey, I got to thank the track folks. I mean the gymnastics folks too. This is an unusual show for me. You know what it is usually around here. Saints, Pelicans, LSU, Tulane in the bigger sports. Now we're looking at all things, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it, getting around a little more. We'll talk about it next week. I can't wait to come back. I want to thank everybody, Will and Logan and Alex in the back, and, of course, Jim and Ron Yeager. I appreciate them, Jim Dotson, Ron Yeager, and everybody at WLE. See you next week right here on Primetime Sports.